As a learner, you must learn to become responsible of your own learning. Take time to read, understand, and perform the different activities in the module. As you go through different activities of this module, be reminded of the following. Number 1, use the module with care. Number 2, don't forget to answer "let us try" before moving on to other activities. Number 3, read instructions carefully before doing each task. Number 4, observe honesty and integrity in doing the task and checking your answers. Number 5, finish the task at hand before proceeding to the next. And the last one, return this module to your teacher or facilitator once you are done. Before we begin, let me ask you first, what is your most significant learning in the previous chapter? Now, this time, let's have our read each sentence carefully, pay attention to the underlined words, and determine its meaning. You are going to select the correct answer. I'll give you 10 seconds to answer each number. Number 1, a wager is false argument. A, agreement. B, battle. C, debate. Or D, fight. Number 2, the nosy neighbors gathered at Maldang and Ugong dining room. A, friendly. B, supportive. C, kind-hearted. Or D, curious. A malady is spreading all over the world today. A, pollution. B, disease. C, toxic. Or D, poison. Ugong is being handpicked by Maldang. A, loving. B, sweet. C, nagging. Or D, adore. Maldang gets angry to her neighbors as meddlers. A, interfere. B, supportive. C, invited. And D, kind. Now, let's check your answer. The underlined word is wager. What is your answer? A, agreement. Correct. Number 2, the underlined word is nosy. What is your answer? D, curious. Very good. Number 3, malady. What is your answer? B, disease. Very good. Number 4, the underlined word is handpick. What is your answer? C, nagging. Very good. Last number, meddlers. What is your answer? A, interfere. Correct. Did you get the correct answer? That's great. Now, let's proceed to our task 2, the viewing and reading activity. To those who have cell phones and internet connection, you are going to watch this video of Why Women Wash the Dishes by Filomena Colendrino. And to those students who have no internet connections, you are going to read the reading selection carefully and take note the important details being presented in the selection.
Why Women Wash Dishes by Filomena Colendrino. In the town of Santa Rosa there once lived a couple named Hugo and Imelda. Every mealtime they quarreled over the chore of washing the dishes. Imelda would scold Hugo if he refused to wash the dishes. Sometimes she would become angry and call him names, and if he talked back, she would get coconut midrib broom and chase him with it. He would run to the house of his compadre and hide there till his wife's anger had passed. The neighbors familiarly called Imelda, Maldang, and Hugo, Ugong. One day just as they were finishing their lunch, Ugong announced, "I'm not going to wash the dishes anymore." He threw out his chest and lifted his chin. "Who says so?" asked Maldang, holding up her chin, higher than his. "I say so. I worked so hard in the field this morning. I'm not going to wash any dish." Maldang stood up and with her arms akimbo, she glared down at Ugong across the table. She was a big woman. Her arms were stout. Her voice was also big. "And who, Mr. Hugo, is going to wash these dishes?" she asked. Ugong's chest sank again. His chin also went down. He held on the edge of the table nervously. "You," he said in a much lower tone. "You are the woman. You should do all the housework." "And what do you do?" asked Maldang. "You tie the carabao to the reeds in the field and then you lie down on the grass to watch it graze. You call that hard work? I cook, clean the house, wash your clothes, I scrub the floor, I do all the work that only slaves should do. And yet, you even refuse to help me wash the plate which you have eaten." Maldang's voice was now raised to a high pitch and her tears posed on her eyelids at Ugong and at her broom. She grabbed the broom. She raised the broom to strike him, crying, You lazy man." Ugong ducked under the table. "Don't," he cried. "Don't strike me. Come out from under the table, you coward," ordered Maldang. "Lay down your broom," said Ugong. All right, come out." Maldang put her broom behind the door. Ugong returned to his seat opposite her at the table. "What have you to say?" asked Maldang, wiping her eyes. "Let's stop quarreling over the plates. Let's have a wager. The first one who will speak after I'd said begin will wash the dishes." "Always only that?" said Maldang. "The first one who talks will always wash the plates, and bowls, and pots and pans. Always." "Right," said Ugong. If you ever say just one word to me or to anybody, or to anything after I had said begin, you will always wash the dishes. That's easy. I can keep my mouth shut even for a week. You can't. You even talk to your carabao. All right, are you ready? Asked Ugong. Maldang sat upright in front of him across the table. She nodded her head, compressed her lips, and Ugong said begin. They both fell silent. They sat at the table looking at each other across the unwashed plates and bowls and spoons. They did not like to leave each other for fear that one would talk to himself without the other's hearing. They sat there just staring. Soon the cat began to meow for its food. Neither Maldang nor Ugong paid attention to its meowing. The cat jumped upon the drying dishes to lick the leftovers. Maldang did not drive the cat away. Neither did Ugong. The cat licked the pot and pan on it, overturned a kettle, spilled its contents, then went to lie down under the table. Ugong pretended that nothing had happened. He continued to sit still, and so did Maldang. Soon, it was getting late in the afternoon, but they went on sitting mutely at the lunch table. Their eyes were tired from staring hard at each other. Tears began to roll down their cheeks. Ugong's shirt became damp with his sweat. Maldang's sweat gathered on her forehead, and trickled down to the sides of her face, and fell drop by drop to her breast. Then a neighbor called, "Compadre." Ugong did not answer. The neighbor called again, "Comadre Maldang. You who? May I borrow your axe?" Maldang did not answer. Ugong looked at her silently. Perhaps nobody is at home, they heard the neighbor say to himself. But why did they leave their ladder at the door? They usually remove the ladder when they go away. Well, I'll just go up, get the axe and return it later. The neighbor went up. When the neighbor went up the bamboo ladder, he was surprised to see Maldang and Ugong sitting silently at the table where the plates had dried up with the leftovers. He hurried toward them. Ugong neither moved nor talked. The neighbor repeated his question. He shook Ugong's shoulder. Ugong let him shake him, closing his lips tighter. The neighbor turned to Maldang. "Speak, comadre. What happened?" He shook her shoulders, too. She pushed him roughly aside but did not speak. "Did you eat something poisonous? Some food that has made you dumb?" He shook each one alternately. But still neither stood up nor talked. The neighbor was alarmed. He did not get the axe but ran out to the rest of the neighbors. He told them that something terrible had happened to his compadre and comadre. The neighbors gathered at Maldang's dining room. They took turns trying to make them speak. But the two continued to sit staring at each other in silence. Maldang looked at her husband threateningly for a moment, then closed her eyes. Ugong knew that she did so to avoid looking at the neighbors. He also closed his eyes and ignored everyone who had come up to his house. Maldang was very angry with her compadre's interference, but she dared not to speak her mind. She pretended to be asleep. The compadre was very much worried. He ran to the village herbman. The herbman came, and when he saw the motionless, silent husband and wife sitting at the table, he declared that they were bewitched. He spread a woven bud mat in the center of the sala and asked the bewitched couple to lie down. Ugong obediently lay down and closed his eyes. He curled up and went to sleep. But Maldang refused to get up from where she sat at the dining table. The herbman said, "The spirit that has taken possession of her is very stubborn. I must break its spell." He turned, then produced from a small bag which he always carried 9 pieces of betel leaf, a piece of areca nut, and a little lime from a tiny bottle. He examined the leaves closely to choose those which had veins running in identical arrangements on each side of the midrib. He cut the nut into 9 pieces. He spread a little lime on each betel leaf, rolled them and wrapped them around each piece of areca nut. He now had 9 rings of the leaves. "This represents the lost spirit of the couple," he said. He chewed the leaf and nut. When he had chewed it, he spat it on his palm, dipped a forefinger of the other hand into the nut-colored saliva and marked with it a cross on the foreheads of Ugong and Maldang. Ugong did not seem to feel the old man's finger on his forehead. Maldang caught the man's forefinger and twisted it. The old herb doctor cried "Hooray!" and pulled back his hand. He moved toward Ugong, who was lying down, calling his name softly and slowly several times. "Come, Ugong, come back." Ugong did not move nor speak. "Come, Maldang, come home to your body now. Come, Maldang," chanted the old man. Maldang did not answer. Evening fell on the frightened village, frightened because the herb doctor said that the spell might be cast on some other villagers besides Ugong and Maldang. He called to the bewitched couple softly at first, and then louder, but became tired, so she reclined against the bamboo wall. The old herman said, "This is the first witchery of its kind that I have met here. By their silence I believe that they are dead. Their spirits, driven away by the witch, have left their bodies. The only thing to do in order to keep their souls in peace and to prevent this witchery craft from spreading among us is to bury them." The man easily lifted Ugong and places him inside his coffin. Surely, he thought to himself, he would win the wager. He would not be afraid of being buried. Why, he would just get cut of the grave when the neighbors were gone. He thought everything going on was great fun and he was enjoying himself. How he would frighten them more when he returned from his grave. The herbman approached Maldang. Although her eyes were closed, she had been listening to her directions. She was afraid that he would surely force her into the coffin if she did not tell him to go away. But she did not want to talk. She hoped her husband would object to the men's lifting her into the coffin. "Surely, Hugo will not let me be buried tomorrow. I'm afraid to sleep in that coffin tonight. No, I'll not let them lift me into it," she thought to herself. But she did not hear Ugong speak. She opened her eyes just as the herbman, aided by 2 other men, put his arms around her to lift up from her chair. Maldang pushed the men, got up to her feet, and shouted, "Don't touch us! Get out! Get out of my house! Shame on you for coming here, meddling with our lives!" Ugong leapt to his feet. He also shouted, "You talked first." He jumped about clapping his hands and saying to the astonished neighbors, "She talked first. We had a wager. Now she will always wash the dishes." Maldang lifted up the lid of Ugong's coffin to strike his head with it, but he ran out with his neighbors, still shouting happily and saying, "I won, I knew I would win. Now I'll never wash dishes." Why Women Wash Dishes by Filomena Colendrino. Let's check your reading comprehension skills. Analyze the issue in the story and then share your opinion. You may also raise questions you have in mind about the topic. 1. What was the reason of Ugong and Maldang's argument? 2. How did they solve their argument? 3. Did they settle their argument the right way? Why or why not? 4. If you were to give your opinion, how would you solve their argument? 5. What negative traits are being portrayed in the story?
For more English grammar and literature lessons, please subscribe. Thank you.
Here are some questions that we need to answer before we go deeper to our lesson. I'll give you 10 seconds to answer each number. Number 1. What is the title of the story?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Number 2. Who are the main characters in the story?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Number 3. How are men and women's roles portrayed in the story?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Last number. What strengths and weaknesses of both parties are shown by Colendrino in her story?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Now, let's check your answer. Number 1. What is the title of the story? Why women wash the dishes? Correct. Number 2. Who are the main character in the story? Imelda or Maldang, and Hugo or Ugong. Number 3. How are men and women roles portrayed in a story? Answer. The role of the man portrayed in the story is that he works in the farm for his family. He is the one who goes out of their house to work for them to have money. The roles of the woman portrayed in the story is that she is the one who does the household chores. She cleans the house and washes the dishes. The rules portrayed in the stories are the ones that are expected by the society that men and women should do a long time ago. Last number. What strengths and weaknesses of both parties are shown by Colendrino in her story? What is your answer? The strength of both parties that is shown in the story is when they fight for their own rights and responsibilities in their house. The scene when Ugong and Maldang fight for whoever washes the dishes shows that both of them are willing to fight for rights as a man and as a woman. They did not think that they should just share responsibilities in their house. The weakness shown in the story is that women cannot stop talking or arguing about things, so Maldang loses the deal between her and Ugong. Women cannot hold back their feelings or opinions. Did you get the same answer? That's good. Take note, class, that reading a selection requires deep analysis to what is written to determine accuracy. Every author has his or her views. Before we go deeper understanding about it, we must understand what bias is. What is bias? Bias is evident in statements that reflect partiality, preference, or prejudice for or against a person, object, organization, or idea. We all have different opinions carried away by ideas. It affects one's thoughts, feelings, and actions. You just choose what we want to believe. Not all biases are bad. It helps us to identify the purpose that strengthens our understanding. The question is, did you observe the bias in reading the text? How to determine what an author's bias? Here are some questions that we need to consider. Does the author present more positive evidence for one side of an issue than the other? Or does the author present more negative evidence for one side of issue than the other? This can determine if the author is a bias for or against in a particular text. Now let's proceed to task 3. Let us practice. Cite words or lines that the author used that shows for or against the following topic. I'll give you 3 minutes to answer the task. We have example in this activity. Our topic is belief or tradition. If we say for, it says that the story is in favor about something or it's positive towards it. If we say against, it says that it negatively against about something. So our answer in 4 column is bury the couple at sunrise. It was clearly stated in the text and they are in favor about burying the couple at sunrise. But in contradiction, it is a witchcraft or black magic. It was not true, but the text itself was in favor about it. The next topic is men, women, neighbors, and herb doctor. Now, I'll give you 3 minutes to answer this task. Okay, time's up. Now, let's check your answer. Now, here's the answer. For the fourth column, they are in favor that men do the hard work instead of washing the plate, laze around, and refuse to do the household chores. It is unlawful discrimination of gender. Men and women can do the same task. Next is women. Impeccable character for doing all the household chores. Another unlawful discrimination. Men can do the household chores. This work was not only for women, but also for men. They can both do the same work hand in hand. Next is neighbors. The neighbors are the middle sum as they intruded the spouse household attempting to provide solution, though they have positive intention, but the result of their action was not positive to the couple. Next is herb doctor. The story was in favor about the conclusion of the herb doctor. They believe all he said, and they are in favor about the herb doctor without thinking that the herb doctor is a witch or quack doctor. Did you get the same answer? Very good. Take note, class, an author or speaker can be biased against something or have biases for or towards something. I hope you are doing great in this activity. Now, let's proceed to task 4. Let us practice more. From the passage that you have read, write down your thoughts or comments from the following question. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer each number. Number 1. What would you tell a friend about this play and why? Number 2. What does this drama show about the position of women in the Philippine society during that time? Do you think women are still regarded that way today? Number 3. What cultural, social, or political conditions influence the characters to act or believe that way? Okay, are you done? I hope you are done. Remind Reminder class, you have 1 day to finish this activity and you can send your output to your teacher's messenger. Now, let's proceed to our task 5. Let us assess. From the selection that you have read, point out the character or situation in the play that reflect the Filipino culture. I'll give you 1 minute to answer this task. Okay, time's up. Let's check your answer. The woman do the housework while the man do the hard work. They believe in witchcraft and quack doctor. They believe bad spirit can possess a human body. They are both willing to fight for right as a man and as a woman. Do you agree that wives should just stay home and take care of household chores? Women can do anything even if it is a man's work. Women can be professional not only in doing household chores but also in other fields. Now, let's proceed to our task 7. Let us try more. Give an example or situation that reflect the Filipino culture. Now, here is our rubric. Again, you have 1 day to finish this activity and you can send your output to your teacher's messenger. Now, let's proceed to task 7. Let us enhance. Write a moral lesson that you have learned from the previous activity. Here is our rubric. Again, you're going to write a moral lesson that you have learned from the previous activity. I'll give you 1 minute to this task. So here is our answer. If you believe strongly in something, don't be afraid to fight for it. You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right. Now, for your assignment, you are going to dramatize your given example or situation that reflect the Filipino culture. Here is our rubric. Let us remember, class, that you have one day to finish this activity and you can send your output to your teacher's messenger. Let us remember, class, that bias is an unbalanced weight in favor of or against an idea or thing. Sometimes, people may develop biases for or against to another person depending on the strong inclination on his or her mind. A bias may sometimes be favorable or unfavorable. Be- Before we finally end our lesson, let me share you this quotation. If you don't understand your rights, you have no rights. Once again, I'm your English teacher for today, Ma'am Abrilyn T. Casar. See you in our next virtual class. Bye-bye!